Chapter 5, Loss and Determination. Orbiting the main star of the academy was a medical treatment facility. There was a beautiful garden at the top of the GP Advanced Medical Satellite. Many people came to see it and enjoyed relaxing at its entrance. The rest of the floor was filled with information desks. As if to break that silence, Amain jumped out of the elevator. Her beautiful face instantly gathered the eyes of everyone there. Amain had clearly been overwhelmed with tears, still no one was able to look away until she disappeared from their view. Amain didn't hesitate to come into Seina's hospital room. She went in without knocking. The interior was surprisingly silent, as if there was no one there. Seina sat up in the sofa-shaped bed that looked out over the wide garden. The usual noisy NB was sitting casually next to him. It looked like a toy casually placed in a child's room. Amain visually confirmed that Seina was okay, and she sighed with great relief. She sat down loudly as if to show off her presence in the chair next to the bed. Amain was staring at the same scenery as Seina without saying a word. He blended into the scenery. The room was quiet for a long time, but its atmosphere had definitely changed with Amain's presence. It was as if the sun of the spring had come in to melt the snow. 5 people died on that ship. Like a drop of water dripping from a melted pillar of ice, Seina began talking. But even then, all I could do was try to escape. Although I hate him, he scared me. I wanted to stop him, but my body ran away. Seina's voice gradually trembled. And, even though Kiko saved me, I couldn't do anything. Even Kiko, who helped me this time, was scared. Seina had been mulling over just how much others had to pay to fulfill his own dreams. He clenched his fist over his knee firmly and a drop of tears fell on top of it. Amain stood up and seated herself next to Seina, and she gripped his trembling shoulder and hand tightly as if holding him from behind. Do you want to quit the GP? No, I have to. I wish I could. Seina could not afford to pay the price to stay there, but his selfish feelings of wanting to be there were merciless. But that wasn't something that Seina alone had to bear, is what Amain wanted to say. However, it wasn't easy to take such a heavy burden off of Seina. I regret that I want to be strong. Amain still stared at Seina. The person that made Seina want to become strong was Kiko, not Amain. But for Amain it did not matter. Seina's thoughts were decided by love. Of course for her it was still not love. But in that moment Seina made a special place for himself in her heart. I don't want to quit. Seina held onto her tight and powerfully said so. It's all right. Everything's going to be fine. Amain stroked Seina's head a bit roughly and warmly embraced him. Then I'll help you. She whispered into Seina's ears gently like a little kiss. In the living room of Amain's penthouse, Eri was busy peeping at Seina's state in the hospital room through NB. Not just Eri, but the Hakuren's quartet and Irma watched and were also crying as they watched the moving scene. Hey, what are you doing? Mind your own business. You'll disturb Kirchi. Eri yelled at the other 5 people. It reminded them of when they were watching Seina met Tenio. You're unbelievable, Eri-san. I agree with you all, said Mikami. Why are you here? No way. Eri looked up from NB's monitor. She tried to run off, but Mikami grabbed her and restrained her. I was silent before with Minaho and her secretaries, but I think that recently Eri-san's behavior has gone a bit too far, ho ho ho. Eri's face instantly turned pale. We also want to talk to you about various things, so let's go to the president's office. No, please. I'll be a good girl. There's no need to punish me. It felt like watching a mother dragging off a child to their punishment as Eri was taken with Mikami. I feel a bit sorry for her, but we have work to do, so let's go back to it. Hakuren said. Everyone in the place agreed and went back to their respective jobs. 86 people injured, 5 dead. For an encounter with Terrant Shank, it's amazing we got away with this little damage. Eri was reading a report as she was lying on the sofa in the reception room next to the president's office. Regardless of her appearance, Mikami had scolded her severely just moments before, and from the expression on Eri's face, was an extremely serious thing as she returned to sanity. Records of Ms. Kiriko's invasion of the Deadless have been removed from the records and reports, and the bridge personnel also been coordinated at the meeting with Captain Rise. But there's no way to hide the space pirates killed inside the ship, so it's been decided that we're blaming it on a malfunction of Ares' prototype equipment. Well, thanks. I guess we're lucky that I did in fact help make Kiriko's equipment. I'm sorry to say that we were unable to destroy the Deadless. To be honest, if she had managed to get into the core, it could have resulted in an even worse situation. There are a lot of people who would blow a gasket if they knew that we skipped over a chance to destroy the Deadless. Letting you clean this mess up worries me more than the thought of the complaints. Ho ho ho. Well, it's still the least bad thing that could have happened. It's just a miracle they survived encountering the Deadless. If you ask me, it looks like there was a spy on board. Some GP and military members send information to space pirates in order to get a share of the goods they plunder. It's currently under investigation. We're lucky that the captain managed to get out of that situation. That's true, but rumors are spreading from the surviving staff of the ship. We're having trouble finding a crew to assign to Seina's decoy division team. Everyone we tried to have requested a transfer or resigned. I don't blame them. If Seina was on board, they probably would have been half as likely to be attacked. Why don't we just make Seina the ship's captain? That's not a bad idea, but what about the captain promotion standards? There's nothing we can do about changing the required working hours necessary for promotion. They're a specially affiliated team reporting directly to me. There should be no problem if I attach some assistants. It will also be a good excuse not to let outsiders close to the Kamedake before its actual debut. We can make Kiriko an assistant. I can't complain about that, and so then no one else will have any room to complain. Nevertheless, the GP is still strongly tied to the Senoan family. There's a possibility that criticisms will concentrate on Seina if you make it a small tight-knit crew, and this is Seina we're talking about. You need to take measures to make sure there is no friction at all. Okay, let's use Mitoto's cleaning department. Yes, the second information department. That should work. Mitoto's cleaning department performed maintenance and inspections, and in the case of GP vessels, they cleaned everywhere. They specialized in not just the removal of garbage and dust, but also various high-level radioactive substances and hazardous materials. They cleaned down to the gun barrel and were known for doing a first-class job. The cleaning personnel never came in direct contact with confidential information, but from what they overheard, they had quite a wide range of advanced information. And there were many people who consulted them on various matters. The staff used that to make some income on the side, and most were very well taken care of. Ho ho ho, in that case we should be fine. If we do this, Seina should be able to fulfill the official captain's promotion criteria by the time he graduates. Ha ha ha, this will be fun. Well then, shall we arrange for Kiriko and the rest to join the Kamedake's crew? Without waiting for Eri to finish speaking, Mikami launched a monitor. Kiriko Masaki report to the principal's office. As soon as possible, Mikami bowed to Eri, who headed to the transfer gate. A few dozen minutes later, in the principal's office of the GP Academy, Mikami and Kiriko were sitting opposite each other. The damage to Kiriko had been much more severe than Seina's, but she only needed an hour to heal. But one part had not healed was the bruise in her heart. Seina has seen it. She rescued him while covered in blood. It couldn't really be helped in that situation, though. She had showed a part of herself to him that she never wanted him to see. Kiriko sighed a second time since she sat down. Every time she sighed, she deflated like a balloon and slipped downwards in her seat. Ho ho ho, Mikami was enjoying the sight. It would have been easy to put air in that deflated balloon, but she wanted to see that sight just a little more. It reminded her of when she first met Kiriko. A few years before, Sito happily introduced her to Mikami. The first time she met with Kiriko was after a decade of Kiriko's education and training in a special acceleration space a year earlier. She was similar to Funaho when she was young. At least Mikami thought so from her first impression. Of course, she knew that Kiriko was from the royal Masaki family, and she had heard about her from Eri and Minaho to a certain extent. But Kiriko was more like Funaho than anyone she had ever met. Well, I might as well do this now. Mikami pushed a letter plate in front of Kiriko. Is this a transfer? Yes. Well, it might not be bad to put a little distance. Kiriko began to say. Mikami was desperately resisting the urge to laugh. Please read the contents carefully. I'm being attached to a ship? The Kamadake. Captain Sena. Kiriko looked at Mikami with a confused expression, to the point of dismay. But, Mikami-sama. That. Sena started walking. What will you do? In this assignment, Sena will be your superior officer. Oh, I forgot to mention, I have decided that another person will be on board, a main Konak, will be attached as Sena's assistant. In addition to her, Hakurin, Karen, Swearin, and Jayakirin are supposed to be assigned. What do you say? Mikami smiled happily. Thunk. Kiriko banged her hands on the desk. I'll do it. Very well. Thank you, Mikami-sama. Kiriko's expression grew sunny. When they received the report from Hakurin that the ship Sena was on was hit by Tarrant, Irma was the most upset. Sena's wounds have already undergone restorative treatment, and he is undergoing medical treatment at the Advanced Treatment Satellite. Well, let's hurry and go see him. Hey, Irma. Amain shook Irma's shoulder. She wasn't paying attention. Huh. I'm going to go see Sena. What? Oh, I can't go. What are you talking about? Are you okay? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a little surprised. Please go on without me. I don't want to overwhelm him by having too many people around. I have to go over to Aries' place anyways. Well, then what are we waiting here for? Please let me know if you find out anything more over there. Of course. Well then, I'll be back soon. Amain stole a coat off the sofa and jumped out of the living room. In exchange, Eri came and started to tinker with NB. After Mikami came in and Eri was dragged away, Irma went, distressed, to her room in the president's office and was unable to handle her work. A monitor for communication was activated. Irma, are you there? When you get some free time, come over here. As usual, Eri cut off communication without waiting for an answer. I can't keep sulking forever. Irma stood up as if pushed by Eri's message, but Eri was standing in front of the door as she turned to open the door to go see her. Don't cry, you're coming with me. Eri dragged Irma off forcibly. Where are you going? Don't pull so hard. I have something good to show you. Eri dragged her to a small ship docking site at the bottom of the ship. She threw Irma wildly into a two-seater spacecraft, which was the size of a mini-car, before she jumped into the driver's seat. Ouch! You didn't have to be so rough. We have to hurry. Eri drove the spacecraft wildly. Hurry? Where are we going? Never mind that, Irma. Are you sure you don't want to be on staff on Sena's ship? Well, but I have work to do here. Amain and Kiriko are on board. Why should you miss out on the fun? You already have Amain and Kiriko. Is that really necessary? Are you going to let Hakurin-chan have all the fun? Is this an order? No, it's different. If that's the case, I will withhold my application for the time being. Of course, I will still help the others as backup. Now, where are you taking me? My first studio. Huh. Oh! A philosopher's first workshop was the place where they conducted only the most important research, and it was usually overseen directly by the philosopher themselves. It was a place more exclusive and secure than the central hub of any country. It was a highly confidential place. Even Aries' high-ranking secretaries were rarely allowed to enter. Get ready. At that time, the Academy's star, which was visible on the right, was distorted and disappeared. The next moment, the scenery returned to normal again. But before their eyes appeared a space station similar to a honeycomb, which she had never seen before. Is that it? It seems to be a little small. It was about 1 kilometer in length. A philosopher's research was diverse and usually needed lots of space. But this was small. The small ship on which they rode went into one of the beehive holes. Here's the gate. Follow me. 2 people who got off the small ship started walking. They seemed to be in a small passage that had nothing in it but was a collection of a surprisingly large number of identity-checking mechanisms and transfer gates. In the passage of only 50 meters, hundreds of checks were being conducted and repeated, and only those who passed through the checks could go to the destination at the end of the transfer gate. A sense of incongruity was felt by Irma when she passed through the super long-distance transfer gate and came in front of a giant room full of giant equipment. Is this? Yes, this is the ship Sena will be put on. You're giving him a ship that you built in your first studio. Eri did not answer Irma's question. She went down the stairs directly in front of her instead. It was like an open mobile operation room, even though it was a small circular room. I've been waiting for you, Eri. A woman came over to Eri. Tenio. Irma was familiar with the face of the lady. She was the woman who was with Sena at the lake after Mickey's incident. Do I know you? I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've met someone named Irma. Oh wait, that's right, you're one of those girls who peeped on me and Sena at Sito-sama's place that one time. Oh, I'm sorry. Irma turned red and lowered her head. It's okay, you were worried about Sena, and besides you were just there to help Eri, just like you're here to help her now. I'm here to help her. This ship was unexpectedly delayed in delivery, so everyone here is staying up all night to do the final checking work. We have to be thorough, so I asked Eri for assistance. Irma looked at Eri. Oh haha. You did say you'd help out as backup, didn't you? Yes, but isn't this a bit short notice? Eri and Tenio each grabbed one of Irma's arms and dragged her to the operator seat. I hope you got some good sleep before you got here. Good luck. Irma looked like she saw a ghost. Make sure to double-check all the bells and whistles the GP added, thank you. Tenio and Eri sat on both sides of Irma. Since the checking was done mostly by a program, the work itself was not very active. They were checking on the operations of basic equipment, the automatic responses and maintenance systems, and making notes accordingly. Nonetheless, it was a long and tedious job where they had to repeat every process tens of thousands of times. Irma began checking the work process. This ship is. Irma looked at the specs displayed and became silent. Because it was the size of a GP main battleship, it was comparable to its ability. Of course, it was nothing surprising when compared to something like a royal ship. But it was completed perfectly so that it was easily mass-producible. The estimated maintenance costs were a fifth of that of a single GP battleship. This ship is being developed as Jurai's next major series of battleship. It's codenamed the Kamadake. Why? Why are they giving this to Sena? Is it that odd of an idea? He's already encountered Kamachi Kyo and Terrence Shank. Oh yeah, and he also encountered Ryoko Balta. With such an encounter rate, isn't it just natural to prepare a suitable ship for him? Well, yeah, maybe. But still, it isn't the Academy's place to give him Jurai's next major ship. The most important thing to remember about Sena is that he has the full backing of Jurai, or, well, more specifically Sito-sama, and that comes with certain benefits. His luck attracts various troubles, so it's perfect for testing new ships. I see. That certainly may be so. Aren't they afraid of showing it off too soon, though? A big country like Jurai is pretty careful in deploying its new armaments. It no doubt will cause other countries to worry about their intentions. Are they trying to leak its schematics? Who knows what that crusty old hag is ever up to? Does it matter? Is that why you're so interested in this ship? Eri, who kept silent till then, said happily. Oh, but... Tenio looked a bit embarrassed for Irma. Don't think about it too hard. I just trust that Sito-sama has Sena's best interest in mind. Well, she could be right. Oh! Now you're worried, Tenio. The motive for putting him on here could be impure. We better make sure everything is in order. I'm surprised you have so little faith in my invention. Ahaha. Why shouldn't I? We all know the kinds of things you've done with your inventions lately. You little twerp. I'll show you what I can do. Eri and Tenio began fighting by moving their hands with quick movement that grew in speed with the intensity of their argument. Ahaha. You two are so similar. Well, she is my grandma. Don't call me grandma. That hit a nerve and Eri suddenly stopped her hand flailing. Fine, but for Sena's sake, Eri, I hope you haven't put anything funny in this ship. After all, this is a ship to protect my precious brother's life. Is Sena your brother? Irma asked. Well, I used to switch places with Kion and she was like his mother. He's also like my son. Well, either way that would make Eri his grandma. No, it's different. Don't call me his grandma. Eri panicked and began to look for a way to get out of there. Tenio, who watched her squirm, gave a satisfied V sign. Victory. Remind me how you two are related to Minaho again? You're so different from her. Oh, is that so? Minaho has to be particularly strict because she's one of Sito's top officers. There's a big difference between someone working for the royalty of Jurai and the Academy's executives. With that, the conversation ended. The three people went back to concentrating on work for a while. As Irma was also Eri's secretary, this work had a familiar feeling to her. The three of them rhythmically operated their keyboards as if they were competing in a piano competition. There are fewer weapons loaded than I would have thought. Even so, the power output of each one is amazing. When their work came to a stop for a short break, Irma listened to Eri and Tenio talk. Well, it is just a decoy ship after all. For the time being, it is more than well equipped to immobilize another ship, and it was designed with high mobility and firing accuracy in mind. But it's still more important to protect the crew in these ships than it to be victorious in battle. I see. Also, Seina's ability is incredibly powerful, but we don't know how much effect it will have long-term. Space pirates will develop countermeasures. Speaking of which, there is an even bigger ship being built for him, but what is most important for Seina is high reliability. That's why we're using a ship that is suited for mass production. But the main computer is a bit strange. Why is that? Isn't it super efficient? Well, yeah, but when I input commands, it gives me some strange outputs. Irma was puzzled by the Kamidake's main computer's reactions to her input. It felt off, but she couldn't put her finger on just how. Like a child. Yeah, that's right. Or like a strange animal. Ahahaha. Oh yeah, it's cute, right? The ship is going to be mass-produced, but this is the only one with the main computer prototype I designed, which imitates the royal trees. Royal trees. You're putting a royal tree ship computer in something like this. A royal tree is not a computer. It has a proper personality. No, a godlike existence that surpasses that of human beings. They are a higher dimensional life form. Higher dimensional life form? I've heard rumors. Is it really true? Well, it doesn't have any of the power of the royal ships, but there are many uncertain factors that may contribute to their power. Eri-sama decided that Seina-chan would be the perfect fit for testing that theory out. But what is inside of a royal ship is a super top secret. How can you do research on it? You can do it if you become their friend. It makes friends? But it's a higher dimensional life form. Isn't that like being friends with a god? Well, I used to think the same thing, until I met Yosho. Yosho-sama is the oldest son of the Emperor of Jurai, who is now missing, right? Well, I heard from the senior secretaries that and he had some various complicated circumstances. Well, for the time being you're going to have to give me a brief backstory, because I'm lost. You know, I'm from Irai. Yes, I'll spare you the details, but Irai was seeking a tangible god. When they heard about Tsunami, who was the founder of royal ships, they wanted to capture her because she was believed to be one of the 3 highest-level goddesses, and we didn't want the Jiraians to use that power against us, or so I thought. When I went to the academy, it was the same time when he was there. I was Yosho's guide and well, we did everything that was associated with that. Are you okay? Why would you tell me such a thing? Irma answered confused, to Eri, who spoke joyfully about a story that could easily be sold to a gossip magazine for a ridiculously large sum of money. However, Eri continued. Oh no. It's okay. We did a lot of things, and eventually I successfully got inside and got to see Funaho-chan. Can you believe that he named his tree after his mother? Isn't that hilarious? Such a mama's boy, right? Eri, the story has derailed. Get back on track. Yosho-sama gave Funaho-sama's name to his ship. Oh, right. Anyways, I was scared to meet Funaho-chan, terrified, but Funaho-chan was every bit as silly as the name that mama's boy gave it. Not at all threatening. You left out the embarrassing part of that love story that was so hilarious. You know, that part where you slept with that mama's boy, who was a minor, and gave birth to Aunt Minaho. Wasn't that the main cause of the Irai's continued nationwide isolation? Ahahaha. Well, I'm the president of the Galaxy Academy and the great philosopher Masaki Eri. Is there anything wrong with that? Eri's title made her nearly invincible. No one would say anything about what she did for fear of the repercussions. However, weren't you supposed to tell her about the royal ship? Tenio dashed away when Eri came at her. Oh, right. It was surprising to meet the tree in his ship. It was cute and pretty. It tickled me till I cried for mercy. Haha, so it's cute? Although it may seem unbelievable, the trees don't like fighting. But aren't the trees said to be the strongest thing in the galaxy? Can't the same thing can be said for Sena too? Huh. When you look at it objectively, Sena has, in only a few battles, caught hundreds of space pirates, hundreds of criminals. Widow, he survived Tarrant. What would other people who don't know him think about that? Is that how it is for the royal trees too? If the trees were just a computer, Jirai would be able to conquer all of space, not just the galaxy, but the trees don't care for that, and the owners of the ships can't force them to. If the tree ships got serious about it, would it be possible to rid the galaxy of space pirates? If they felt like it, they could destroy the entire galaxy and everyone in it. They have so much power. No royal ship wants such a thing, they only wish to deter fighting. But Sena is different. His power can rid the world of space pirate without destroying the galaxy. Oh! That meant that Sena was even more dangerous than the royal ships for the space pirates. Irma realized and her face froze. It's amazing to think that Sena only got into space by pure coincidence. Kiriko tried to make Sena return to the Earth because she was worried about him, but irresponsibly so. I can see why she would think of it in a bad way. It means he will face lots of enemies. That old hag is up to something terrible. I wonder how many times I've had that thought since he came here. Eri started shaking her fist in the air as she recalled some bad memories. Well, all of us, especially Eri, has had to work hard to make sure we had the power to protect ourselves, but Sena doesn't have the time or luxury to do that on his own. Yeah, you're right. I am sorry. This is a lot to dump on you, I know, but if it were your cute little brother, wouldn't you want to give him whatever protection you could? For my cute little brother? Irma remembered the sight of Sena and Tenio at the lake. Yes, if he looked at me that way, I would do anything. Tenio gave a really gentle and sad smile. Irma remembered when Sena's smile was empty right after she told him about Mickey's incident and sent Sena off to the dormitory. At that time, I remember. Sena seemed to be just walking around like a doll, just moving emotionless like something was missing. He's never been allowed by life to have any hopes or desires. The only thing that he's wanted was to stay in the GP, but he's aware of what he has to pay for that. Sena opened himself up for once, even though life had decided drill a hole in him and fill it with more misfortune than any one person should ever have to experience. I want to fill that hole of sadness left by his luck with happiness. Irma felt a strong desire resembling a severe thirst. A week after that, Sena, who was in the hospital, was getting used to peaceful, everyday life again. He found spiritual stability in telling Amain how he felt, and Amain came and visited him regularly. But other than that, there wasn't much foot traffic to see him. As for Kiriko, communication between the parties during the investigation was forbidden, so his communication with the outside world was blocked, and there was no way for him to know her situation, or for Kiriko to know his. It can't be helped. I'll just have to be patient. Honestly, even if I meet with Kiriko now, I don't know what we would talk about. He felt a sense of discomfort. But it's amazing she was able to save me at all. Sena rolled up the hems of his clothes and looked at the burn scars on his arms and legs that had been shot up. It took 3 months to move normally again. Due to Sena's bioenhancement, it had only been a week, and at that point it was mostly cured, but it still felt a bit off. The holes themselves were healed up in a matter of hours. That was really amazing. But Sena had several needles poked into him to stitch up his various wounds, but many had been put in the wrong place because of his bad luck. It happened so often that Sena had to convince them to let him do it himself. He was so good at it because of how often he had to do first aid on himself. It amazed the doctors and nurses, and they had all gathered to watch him do it. We'll let you do the rest by yourself later, is what they said. In the end, I even bothered the doctors and the nurses. But it wasn't all bad. It was a good opportunity for him and the doctors to get to know the hazards of treating him, and he was thankful that the people who managed the facility were so attentive and understanding of his condition. On that day, Sena, who had finished lunch in the big cafeteria of the hospital, changed out of his medical clothes after receiving his last medical checkup. He changed back into his GP uniform and had to readjust to how they felt after being out of them for so long. The alert for notifying him he had guests rang. "Here I go, I guess," he said. The doors opened and in came Mikami. "Principal Mikami." Sana corrected his posture and saluted. Mikami nodded in satisfaction at his salute with her powerful gaze. "You look healthy. The results of your medical checkup look good, and I'm relieved. I apologize for causing any inconveniences." "No need to be sorry, you're here. But don't forget Matoto was also involved. I'm probably the one that attracted the space pirates, as a result. Regardless of how much you regret it, it won't change anything. It is more important for you to learn and grow from that experience than to mope over it. You ought to know that by now." "Yes." "Sana Yamada, you're now permitted to leave the hospital. You'll be instructed on your next assignment soon. We have forwarded the information to your NB, so please follow the instructions you find there." "Immediately." But Sana wanted to go to Amain's house immediately to check on Kiriko. "Work is work, and you don't want to hold people up now, do you? You should go to the site immediately." "I understand. I'll be there soon." Sana stretched his spine quickly before he saluted again. "Thank you." Sana turned his back on Mikami as she smiled. He left the room with NB and left the hospital after saying goodbye to the doctors and nurses who had come to know him over the past week. He headed for the transfer gate that NB guided him to. Most of them were very busy with people coming and going, but the pathway to this one seemed abandoned. NB looked back at Sana as they proceeded down the empty passage suddenly. "Master, are you concerned about Kiriko?" NB asked Sana, who stopped walking suddenly. "Of course, I wonder how she's doing." Sana smiled with a light expression and looked out the window nearby into outer space at the Academy's planet. "I remember what happened when I got up to space for the first time. When you came from the Earth to the Academy? Can you believe it? On the Earth, only a handful of people ever get to see such a sight, and it costs a lot of money. Sorry, but here it's just an everyday sight. One day, I got a pamphlet from Amain and filled it out half-jokingly. When I woke up, I was on a GP transport ship. Matoto was in front of me. And just like now, I was unable to get in touch with Kiriko no matter how hard I tried. There are lots of similarities, like when Amain first came to visit me in the hospital, and when I was brought in front of Principal Mikami and I chose to remain in the GP. Well, at least then I was reunited with Kiriko at the immigration office." "I see. Well, I guess we will see each other again soon enough," Sana said. "Right now, I guess I should just be glad that none of the nurses tried anything funny with me. If you like, I can do that. I seem to have that feature still installed. Do you want me to initialize it?" "Please don't. If you like, I can change my voice setting. I can make myself sound like a young nurse if you like. I have the voices of many famous young actresses installed." "Please don't do that. Besides, I like your weird old man voice. I've gotten used to it. And besides, if you change it like that, it might cause some sort of crazy misunderstanding. Especially if they were the kind of actresses Sana thought they were. Aries sure put some weird features in you, but you know, some of them are actually kind of amusing." "Oh, is that so?" Sana looked outside once again with a wry smile. "Master, are you lost?" "I'm just checking. I'm making sure I'm prepared. I only ask because my database refers to this hall as the Passage of the Lost." "Passage of the Lost?" "It seems this part of the hospital is for advanced treatment, and they only bring people here who are in serious and likely fatal condition. It's also a very confusing part of the building and it's easy to get lost in." "Did Mikami direct you to go this way?" "She must have wanted you to have plenty of time to get over there, to think until you were convinced. Are you sure you don't want to stay a while longer?" "I don't feel like leaving." "Huh. I like this place, but if I am not here, I know that the probability that someone will get caught up in my luck and get hurt will be reduced. So I'm leaving even though I want to stay here. Whether I'm prepared or not, I have to just push through it. Being a human being seems hard." "Haha, yeah it is." Sana regained his composure. "Let's go, NB." Sana stared straight at the transfer gate. Sana came out the gate into a passage with no doors or windows with many strict guards standing by. No signs were anywhere to be found indicating where he was. "This sure is a strictly guarded place," NB said as they went through the 10th door so far. "There are so many doors and a tremendous number of sensors, and there seems to be transfer gates built in the doors as well." "Transfer gates? Are we still in the hospital?" 8 of the gates so far seem to be for eliminating foreign bodies, mostly microscopic things. Huh. To remove any explosives or nanomachines, this place must be very confidential. Why are you taking me to such a place? I am only following my orders, Master. I will understand if you want to go back. Whoosh! A wide space spread across the door that opened next with the sound of a pressurized lock being unsealed. Oh! Apparently this is the last gate. He passed through the door. There was a small ship docked there, and the ship was surrounded in cubic containers. Whoa! What? What is this? It was a pure white, seamless container that seemed different from a regular container. Oh, that's high-level sealed container. It's used when carrying large fragile objects like precision parts or other special items. There's a person over there, so why don't we ask them? Sana found 3 people's shadows near the container. Oh, Alan, are you sure we have to do this? I don't want to be on the same ship as Sana Yamada. What are you saying? We have no choice. We're broke. Alan, Barry, and Cohen talked on the other side of the container. I heard he encountered Tarrant. But the salary is really high and we fit the qualifications. Do you know anywhere else we can make this kind of money? We can't quit, we can't even afford to get fired. If we don't make a lot of money soon, our debt will become inescapable. That's right, but it's still better than being dead, right? Hey, if you're okay with not having anything to eat and having to always feel like you did when we had to run from those fan club members, then go ahead. Well, I don't want that either. Think about it. If you encounter someone like Tarrant and survive, you'll be able to brag. You'll be a legend. And this is an army battleship, isn't it? You know the specifications of the ship, right? Rumor has it that they made it to take down the Deadless. Really? Like Alan says, this is certainly not an ordinary ship. Also, what if we see Ryoko-sama or some new space pirates that could be an idol? We could create a new fan club. That's right. If we could pay off our loans right away, we might even have enough to never have to work a dangerous job for the rest of our lives, right? I miss the days before we met those space pirates. The glory days. Then let's do it right this time. We won't let greed get in the way. Ha 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 ha. Yes, let's do it. Hey, wait, whose shadow is that? Did Sana Yamada walk over here while I was talking? When Alan turned nervously, he found Sana next to him. Oh! Sana, how are you? He said in a panic. Oh, Alan. It's been a long time. Sana saluted. I've seen you salute better, but you look good, Sana. Thank you. When we first met you, you were our cargo, so we treated you like a VIP. But this time it's different. Now you're on the bottom rung, so if you don't mind, could you do our laundry for us? Oh, and of course we will be the first to speak when we see Ryoko. Following Alan, Barry and Cohen also began to speak arrogantly to Sana. Oh, okay. But why would you be the one to talk to Ryoko? Superior officer's orders are absolute. But we will forgive your questioning this time. Oh, thank you. Sana saluted. He heard someone else clear their throat. Crew line up. What is that now? I bet some teacher is here to scold the cadets. Eep. Alan turned and saw the voice was going from the former GP secretary, Minami Kuramitsu. He turned blue and assumed an upright, stiff posture. Long time no see. Sana turned towards Minami and saluted. You seem to be healthy. I'm sorry Matoto has caused you various inconveniences. No, I am sorry that I got Matoto caught up in my own bad fortune. Anyway, I'm glad you're safe. It's good to see you again, although I never expected it would be this soon. I understand why. I only started my practical training less than half a year ago. Indeed. Oh! It seems that preparations for boarding have almost been completed. Minami looked up at the container. A small hole suddenly opened in the side wall of the container. Hakurin and her girls came down from it on a moving plate. Oh. Wow! Alan hardened when he saw the beautiful quartet of Hakurin's girls, and he raised ruckus of cheers. Sana, who had experienced similar things in the student dormitory once, relived this reunion less appreciatively. Welcome, we've been waiting for you. Hakurin's quartet wore the uniform of the GP cleaning department and saluted. I'm having trouble picking one. Alan pushed Sana. He jumped out towards the quartet, and looked like a top as he spun to pick his favorite of the four. Jayakiran, who boasted unrivaled beauty, especially caught Alan's eye. He became fixated and began to shiver as if his soul had been pulled out. This is it. This is our lucky break. Welcome. Please, you three. Get on the plate. Hakuran moved in front of Jayakiran to shield her from Alan's disgusting gaze. She responded with a gaze that pierced Alan's soul. Sena, please come with us. Karen and Swearin went around Alan, who was in a daze, and they each held one of Sena's arms and led him off as those left on the plate watched. Why are they taking Sena? He's our subordinate. Oh, that's right. I forgot to mention, he's the captain and the cleaning staff outrank you. Minami responded with dissatisfaction to Alan. Remember, a superior officer's orders are absolute. I'll forgive you this time. Minami mimicked Alan's previous tone to Sena. He's the what? Oh. They jumped to salute Hakuran's quartet, realizing they were their superior officers. Huh, how rude. Please start boarding. Following Hakuran's words, Alan's group headed to the plate as they resisted the urge to run to the exit. Thank you, Minami. Please excuse us. Hakuran and Jayakiran saluted Minami. He walked towards Sena, who was being held still by Karen and Swearin. Is that the sound of opportunity one hear rolling in so soon? Alan said as he headed for the boarding plate. Opportunity. You saw them. They're beautiful enough to be idolized. One of them even reminds me of a main Konak. I think we've found our new space pirate idol substitute. Okay, so if we create our fan club. Alan started rambling as the plate went up in the ship. The moving plate that Sena got on entered another entrance that showed off the ship. The entrance closed as if it had always been just a wall. Sena, this is the Kamadake. It's your ship. Hakuran said. The ship was shaped like a cone laid on its side. It was perfect to describe such a spaceship as looking like a toy spaceship in a styrofoam case. Why is it in such a container? The Kamadake is a prototype made for mass production. It was just completed, ahead of schedule. I don't have specific details, but Eri-sama made the ship, so if you like you can ask her. Huh. Sena reflexively thought of NB, who he had with him. What's that look for? Well, that worries me a bit. Don't worry, if anything happens we'll remove the plugins like last time, unless you want your ship to turn into a pretty young woman. Hakuran joked about the situation Sena and NB experienced when they lived with him. She paused for laughter, but none came. Well then. Sena, there's no need to worry. Our performance checks all came up good and the crew is also made up of some excellent people, so you should be relieved. Hakuran said to stop the discussion about Sena and his NB. Yes, that's right. Master, if you like I can acquire the personal data of Miss Hakuran. Or Miss Swearin, or do you prefer Jayakiran? How about Karen? No thanks NB, that's all right. No need for that. Sena pulled NB close to shut it up. At the same time, the moving plate rose to enter the Kamadake. Sena was taken into a room decorated much like that of a luxury hotel. Sena's closet was a master bedroom-sized room. He changed into his uniform as instructed by Hakuran. She waited till he came out and finally groomed him when he was done switching outfits. By the way, what will I be doing on the ship? Please come with me. Hakuran brought Sena to a desk at the back of the room without answering him. Please sit here, and try not to move your body. Okay. Sena sat in the chair, a shield enclosed him, and he was sucked in together with the chair into a hole that opened on the floor. After moving for a few seconds through a dimly lit tube, Sena was suddenly surrounded by bright light. He had arrived on the Kamadake's bridge. Where is this? He looked around. Sena looked down at the lower tier where Alan's group saluted him. Sena, why are you seated in such a place? That's the captain's seat. Alan said. Hey, they must have made a mistake, come down here quickly. Alan beckoned. It's not a mistake. The seats where Hakuran and Swearin sat came up from both ends of the operator seats with 5 seats in front of them. What? Alan became upright and immovable. He saluted Hakuran and the others. Sena Yamada, today you are appointed as the captain of the Kamadake. Hakuran said, saluting him. You're doing what now? Alan and Sena made the same declaration at the same time. Well, Alan, I guess that means he's the captain. Then what are we waiting for? Barry said. Alan tightened his facial expression. Salute to the captain. They saluted. Hee. Sena reflexively saluted himself and felt a bit stupid for doing so. A seat with a main in it rose on an elevated platform diagonally beside the captain's seat Sena was in. Oh, a main sensei. I'm not your teacher anymore, Captain. Amain saluted Sena and winked with a smile. Well, even so, it's sudden and I'm not surprised you feel that way. I'm the captain now. Everything feels too sudden. I'll tell you the details later, but everything is always sudden for you and you still do it, don't you? That's true. At that time, Sena remembered Mikami's words in the hospital room. Even so, you've changed the power structure of the galaxy in a blink of the eye. Another seat rose up on the other side of Sena. Huh? Sena turned around to see Kiriko sitting on the seat that came up. Kiriko. It was an abrupt reunion. Sena looked at Kiriko's face tensely. Of course it was the same for her. Her expression was also nervous. The people around them were patiently waiting for the two to quit staring. Of course Alan, who did not know the circumstances of their stares, ordered Hakurin and Swear and to quietly wait at the operator's seat. What's the matter? Is something wrong? It's about time we launched. Oh, yes. Sena had reunited with Kiriko just like at the immigration office as he had predicted to NB earlier in the Passage of the Lost. Not only Sena, but also Kiriko remembered that day. They smiled at each other, and the atmosphere of the place went back to normal. Kiriko stood up with a crisp expression. I'm here as your head information officer. I am Kiriko Masaki. Thank you for having me, Captain Sena Yamada. She saluted Sena. Nice to meet you. Sena said also a bit awkwardly. When are you going to quit staring at each other? It is about time to set sail. Amain poked Sena from behind. Oh, that's right. I almost forgot. Kiriko quickly sat down in her seat and began preparing for launch. What am I supposed to? Captain somewhere will take care of all the details. Amain pulled the hem of Sena's outerwear to usher him down into his seat, and she began preparations just like Kiriko. But first we must perform the initial certification and registration of you as this ship's captain, Kiriko said, as a scanning plate appeared around Sena. It was a more sophisticated one than the ones used to take roll at the student dormitory. Scan complete. Your registration as captain of the Kamadake is complete. Kamadake launch program start. At that time, Sena's heard laughter like a child in his ear. Ahahaha. Yoa. A light like a spherical aurora appeared behind him. It turned to face Sena happily. The rainbow-colored light appeared and disappearing in a complicated pattern, as if it had a shape like a tree. This atmosphere is, just like Sito's tree. Sena remembered the bridge of Sito's ship. Engines start complete. They are rising to the scheduled output values. Raise the first and fourth to the normal operating range. Each block checks out. Startup is good. First startup complete. Ready to start the main engine, Captain. Please authorize. Yes, start the main engine. Sena said. The huge white pillar that reached to the ceiling, which held the Kamadake in place, disappeared into grains of light. Kamadake launched. All green. No problems. It seems that the startup has completed successfully. Eri was on the main screen with her technicians who performed the final checks. Sito, Minaho, Tenio, Hakurio, Irma, Minami, Mikami, Matoto, and the Kamadake were displayed. All of the Kamadake crew stood up and saluted. From this day on you belong to the GP Decoy Division. The special mission for your new ship, the Kamadake, will start once you depart for your first training flight. Everything looks good. They're allowing our departure. Kiriko reported. Eri nodded satisfied and saluted Sena back. And after Eri, everyone there saluted too. The Kamadake, which descended to the starting passage, began to sound a shrill groan. It was from the powerful engine that sounded like it came from a ship much larger than the Kamadake's small hull. Engines shows no abnormality. No obstacles on the scheduled navigation route. Amain and Kiriko reported, the eyes of everyone concentrated on Sena. Sena sighed deeply and calmed his feelings. All right, Kamadake, let's go. He said powerfully. The Kamadake will now take off. Without any shock, suddenly the scenery outside began to flow by with great speed, and in a few seconds the Kamodake was hugged in twinkling stars and a jet-black universe.